Okay, here's a question. Why are Islamic schools, Wahhabi, Sufi, etc., created to begin with? Doesn't it go against principle of unity and not sectioning the ummah? It depends. It depends on, because there's always going to be difference of opinion. And this is what people don't understand. Like, Islam is wide. It is something that some things are clear cut and other things are mutashabih, meaning that they're not as clear cut. They are ambiguous. There can be difference of opinion about them. There can be questions about them. And Allah says this in the Quran. There are muhkamat and mutashabihat. So when it comes to the mutashabihat, you can have a difference of opinion. Different Muslims will differ. They're still Muslim, but because of their differences in psychology, difference in background, difference in experience, difference in levels of understanding, there will be differences. And the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they had differences amongst themselves. And that is something natural. But what do you do with the difference? Do you say that, okay, we are different, therefore we have to mass takfir? If it's a legitimate school of difference, then this is inappropriate. This is disastrous because you're fighting. You are causing constant civil war. And there is a principle of unity within Islam. And Allah says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and do not differ. So there is in the Quran being taught this principle of unity. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a different interpretation, a different school of thought. And the Muslim scholars of history have dealt with this problem. And this is a video that we are also producing, inshallah. After the Wahhabi documentary comes out, there's going to be a follow-up on this question of what is the balance between unity and alliance and pan-Islamism, and the balance between that and maintaining the fact that there are some differences. And some of the differences are quite significant between Sunni and Shi'i, right? Between different schools of Aqidah, between Ash'ari and Maturidi and Ahl al-Hadith. There are differences. Some of them are significant. Between the different madhahib, Hanafi and Shafi and Maliki and Hanbali. There are differences. So how can you maintain alliance and cooperation for the ummah while also acknowledging that there is ikhtilaf, there is a valid difference of opinion, or sometimes invalid difference of opinion? And the genius of the ulama of our history, of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, is that they came up with a solution. They came up with principles and a solution for maintaining a perfect balance. And the scholars that were very critical in developing this balance were scholars like Imam al-Ghazali, scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah, which people will be surprised about. But Ibn Taymiyyah was extremely tolerant of differences of opinion, including differences of opinion in Aqidah. And the Wahhabis have blackened the name of Ibn Taymiyyah. But, we want to bring out what he has said on this topic because it's really critical to maintain that balance. And it's not like a straightforward thing. It requires a little bit of elaboration because Wahhabis have distorted and lied about this issue. They've said that, no. If you want to be upon the haqq of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that means being a Wahhabi, and you have no tolerance for any deviation. So that's why the Ash'aris are upon kufr. The Maturidis are upon kufr. These traditionalists are upon kufr. These Shia are upon kufr, etc., 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 etc. This is not actually the view of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's even in the name. Ahlus Sunnah is not just Ahlus Sunnah. What's the second part of that? Wal Jama'ah. And the Jama'ah, having the group, having the larger community, having the larger collective, it implies that there is a balance. You're on the Sunnah, but there is tolerance for the sake of the Jama'ah. You don't just break off of the group. You don't just break off of the collective and start attacking the collective and start takfiring the collective and start making it your top priority to be hostile to that collective. And that's what the Khawarij do. That's what Kharijism is. Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is opposed to the Khawarij in the sense of the Jama'ah part. The Khawarij, the Kharijis, that's the first deviant group, And where did they originate from, by the way? From Najd, where centuries later Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his movement would originate from. The Khawarij, they're very pious. They're extremely pious. They're very strict. They care very much about Quran and Sunnah. But they're not Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They're the opposite of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Why? Because they reject the Jama'ah part. They reject the Jama'ah part of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Just like the Wahhabis today. Just like Ibn Abdul Wahhab today, who declared that only he understood Tawheed and the rest of the Ummah were actually mushrik, kafir, apostates, and that's why we wage war upon them. We wage jihad upon them in order to eliminate them. And that's the biggest priority. Not the Christians or the Jews or the colonizers or the atheists or anyone else. It's these mushrik murtads.